Welcome to Your Next Move with Kimberly Brown. Today, I am answering your deepest career and leadership questions. So here we go. When it's time to leave a stagnant role, there's a few things that are going to happen. A, we need to understand, is it really stagnant? When I think about a job being stagnant, it means that you've hit whatever that glass ceiling is. There's nowhere to go up, down, across. You are bored every single day. You've probably tried to apply for other jobs within the company, tried to move up, tried to do different things, but nothing is really hitting the way that it's supposed to hit. Those are telltale signs that it's time to think about whatever your next move is, whether that's in another department, another industry, another company, but you literally feel like you have outgrown this box that you are in and you are bursting to get out and do something different. So if you are looking to attend conferences or get an additional certification, the first thing you need to do is check it and see if your company already has a professional development fund that you can be awarded. Sometimes after 1 year of service, you may have a budget to go back to school or even $300, $600, or $1,000 or more every single year that you can use for your own personal and professional development. If you have a fund like this, figure out what is the process to submit your interest in doing something. You may have to share some background information, a website, or have a mini write-up and an email that documents why you want to do this thing. If there is not a process, I highly recommend reaching out to your manager first to just figure out, hey, if there's a professional development event that I'd like to attend, what is the process to ask for approval? And figure out what is it that they need. For example, I run many programs through Manifest Yourself. And one of the things I provide all of my clients with is a reimbursement letter. And in that letter, I state what the program is, what the learning outcomes are, the cost of the program, and what the transformation should be for my clients after they finish the program. Now, I supply that to my clients, but that's not to say you can't write your own and submit that in an email or a letter to your boss to put through for reimbursement. One of the things you may hear about is what's going to happen after this program. So please note that sometimes when a company invests in you, they may ask, well, we look for you to stay 1 year after you complete this program, or they want to make sure it's directly applicable to your job. Some companies may be more than happy to pay for your professional development knowing that you may leave, versus other companies may want this work directly correlated to helping you do your job better every single day. So I know I've listed a whole bunch of factors here. So let me break it down really quick. Number one, understand if your company has a policy. What is that policy and how do you submit? If you can't find any information, ask your boss what the policy is and understand, is this going to help you in your current job, which generally makes it a little bit easier to get approval for, or if they're okay in just investing in your overall personal and professional development. And I wish you luck. Okay, so when we're talking about salary negotiation, one of my favorite things to talk about, and the first thing that I say, is that salary negotiation starts the moment you interact with the company. It's not about getting such a terrible offer and negotiating $20, $30, $40, $50,000 on top of it. It's about getting a great offer and negotiating the cherry on top. So if you want to make sure that you are negotiating a higher salary, I want you to do a few things. Number one, be super duper clear on what it is you bring to the role. Why are you applying? What is the transformation you'll provide the company? What is your experience as it directly correlates to that job? You need to make sure that when you are answering questions, when you're in the interview, that you are driving home why you are the perfect candidate for that job. It is not the interviewer, the recruiters, nobody's job but yours to make sure that you are the perfect fit for this job. Then I need you to understand what's happening in the industry. What is happening in the industry? How much are they paying other people in similar roles for this work, so that when you are asked to quote your salary range, you can quote a great range. And don't be afraid to talk about this in the first interview. Do not wait to talk about this later and just hope that you're aligned. Feel free to bring this up or answer the recruiter's question when you first come into the job. And last but not least, practice. Practice, practice, practice. And believe if you are in this interview, if you are in a position to negotiate your salary, they already know that they want you. So stand in that confidence that you've successfully navigated a process and they are already interested in you. And when you stand behind your skills, you really can't go wrong. Because if it's not this opportunity, it will be the next one. So when we're talking about negotiating your salary, everyone thinks about just that, the actual salary. But sometimes there may be some constraints that does not allow for you to negotiate a little bit more money on that side. So there are so many other things that you can talk about negotiating. One of my favorite things to negotiate that still adds money to your pocket is a sign-on bonus. A sign-on bonus generally can be delivered in the first paycheck that you receive and sometimes the next month. Generally, they may not give you the full whatever sign-on bonus it is immediately, but within your first 2 to 4 pay cycles, they can give you that full sign-on bonus amount. That's a great way to bump up the salary, at least for that first year. So with great performance, hopefully you can negotiate even more after you've shown all the great work that you're doing. For senior level stakeholders, you can also start to negotiate things like vacation time, stock options, or other benefits, whether that's parking, travel, all different type of things. I know nothing feels as great as getting that bottom number a little bit higher, but things like stock options have such longevity that you can keep long after you leave the company. And if your company is doing really great, it can ultimately add even more money. Talking about interviews is one of my favorite things because if you cannot land the interviews, and by land, I mean you're in the interview already, but you kill it. If you cannot kill those interviews, no matter how great you are, no matter how great of a referral you received in order to get you that interview, you won't be able to get the job. You have to sell people in your interviews. And the secret to great interviewing is storytelling. Now, the technique I'm going to share with you, you may have heard before. It's called the STAR technique. But don't shut this off yet. Don't stop listening, because I say this because people generally do it wrong anyways. The STAR technique stands for situation, task, action, result. The situation, so where were you? What were you charged with doing? The task, what are the outcomes that they were looking to happen with whatever that task was at that company? What actions did you take? Did your team take? Did your leader take? And then ultimately, what were the results? And the results don't have to point to you doing everything that needed to be done. It doesn't have to be the perfect outcome, but it literally sets up the situation. What I tell every client who I help with interview prep is that if you are interviewing at a company and your interviewer cannot regurgitate your story later, you did not tell a good enough story. They need to be able to recite your story because, again, there's generally debrief sessions about candidates after your interview. They're going to talk about, oh my gosh, Sarah did a really good job here, or Keisha did this, or Sean did this. Do you remember that story you told about working here? They need to be able to sell other people on your story. So if your story does not have the details needed, it's not very good. Another key where you'll figure out if you're doing a great job storytelling is listening to the interviewer's follow-up questions. If after you tell your story using what you thought was the STAR method and they ask, well, where were you? How big was your team? What were you doing there? What happened at the end? That's a key that you are not giving enough detail in your stories. You have to make sure that someone is on the edge of their seat listening to your stories, and it directly correlates to what you'll be doing in that job. It is always time to position yourself as a leader in your current role. From the moment your foot goes into the door, or in our virtual world, from the moment that you log online to your company, you should always be positioning yourself as a leader within the company. One of the biggest things I tell my clients is that every job description talks about a body of work. That body of work is your domain. That is your box that you are charged with operating in and killing the game in. It is your responsibility to lead that body of work with excellence. And therefore, you need to step into being a leader. Whether you are an analyst, an executive assistant, a chief so-and-so, a director, it's important that you position yourself as a leader through leading in whatever that body of work is. When I talk to many professionals and their managers in companies where I serve as an executive coach, one of the pieces of feedback we get on candidates is that they don't feel like there's much thought leadership. There's not real insight on their work, how to develop it further, how to innovate, how to change things to make it better for the organization, the company, the department, their manager, etc. So when you look at your body of work, it's not just about task execution, but it's about what are your thoughts? What are your insights? How can you improve? How can you add to? And a little secret there on promotion. If you're really looking to get promoted, see how your body of work connects to your larger department, or most likely your manager's body of work, and how you can innovate to make things better outside of your immediate role. Because that's really what leaders do outside of just leading themselves. They're also able to lead and influence a broader organization. So with that, we answered quite a few questions for you today. If you have more questions, please email podcast@manifestyourself.com, and there will be another episode where we talk and answer more of your career and leadership development questions. Until next time, may your best move always be what's coming next.